In the latter half of the 20th century, the history of our species briefly straddled two epochs. An industrialised world, but with much of its ancient traditions and cultures intact. As the new technological age dawned, there was a passing whisper of time where technology would allow us to capture and archive the very traditions and cultures that it threatened. One man recognised this opportunity and embarked on a 15-year journey to capture the music and traditions of distant peoples whose cultures were endangered. When he returned, he had created the largest traditional music archive on the planet, with over 3,000 tapes, over 2,000 slides and over 50 handwritten journals. In collaboration with Fanshawe One World Music, Spitfire are proud to announce David Fanshawe Earth Encounters, a sample library that we hope will bring these rare and extinct instruments, music, languages and traditions to life by providing DNA for music makers of the future.
David Fanshawe, for me, growing up in the 1970s, was just this kind of figure who would appear occasionally on Blue Peter, and he'd always be great with kind of enthusiastic. Even at that age, you knew he was quite eccentric and an adventurer and someone who had very interesting things to tell young people.
This is an African harp belonging to a man who was murdered by Idi Amin's troops. And inside you can see his name engraved in the wood, Latigo Oteng.
Just pluck it for us, just strum it.
Out of tune.
Over a period of 15 years, David had visited over 85 countries. Thinking back to that period in history, the world was a much more difficult place to travel around. You have to also allow for the kind of element of culture shock that he must have brought with him.
And you are John Dumu Aru.
Right.
Yeah. So there'll be a big sing-sing there.
Right.
From Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays?
Yes.
We were introduced initially to Jane Fanshawe, and she took us down to see the archive. There are over 3,000 tapes in the library, so it's just, when you see the extent of it, it's really quite mind-blowing. There is literally nothing like that.
And never will be. David's point in history was unique because it was when technology and these ancient traditional cultures lived side by side, and technology enabled David to capture these things.
The fidelity of the recordings is incredible. It's like they were recorded yesterday.
One of the key things was that he was mobile. He used to construct funny little kind of DIY things. I saw a video of him complaining about the lead rattling, but he was like running, literally being stampeded by a tribe, you know, and he's got this kind of Steadicam kind of thing up with, you know, did stuff that he's clearly improvised. And you hear him lock into the sweep spot, and it's very clear when it happens. And it is literally like you're back there with him. I'm not embarrassed to say there's been a few moments where literally tears have come to my eyes. This is an incredible honour to even just to listen to these things.
So after our first few meetings with Jane, we talked about the kinds of things that we thought might be usable within the context of producing a virtual instrument. And one of the parallels that struck me was that David was essentially a trailblazer for the notion of taking recordings that have been captured in their natural environment of these incredible musicians performing virtuoso performances, and actually using the recordings that were made on location as part of the new performance. And you see that obviously with African Sanctus as the standout work. The library is organised in such a way that you'll quickly be able to find your way to some vocal performances if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, in kind of general terms, but then divided down by territory and by, as much as possible, by country, so that you'll be able to see where the performance that you're listening to has come from. The whole point of this library and the whole point of the project is to kind of infuse music makers with a new source of inspiration.
The key thing is, when I was growing up, you know, if you heard an Indian tabla, you'd just instantly think Indian music until I heard Dirty Harry, and you go, no, that's just a cool sound. It doesn't have to be associated with a geography, even a culture. And I think that that's what David very much started as well. And I think that's, you know, again, what I hope happens with this library, that it's not about making world music. It's not about people who write nature documentaries or travel documentaries. This stuff, it gives you the right to use it and encourages you to use it, to warp it. This library is full of those magical moments which draw your listener in because you just don't know what it is, where it's from. The really big thing that we're aiming for on this is to make sure that it reaches as many people as possible. We have a user base of a lot of orchestral people, but I really hope, you know, a guy making dubstep in a council estate in Hackney hears about this. You know, I think it's such an amazingly romantic notion that extinct peoples, traditions, instruments can seed the future of human musical endeavour, and I think there's something rather beautiful about that.
Every time I pack up my tapes, I remember the ancient Hawaiian prayer. Here is your child, safeguard it. Music must be safeguarded. With a little vigilance and a little love, it can be reborn again and again.